So the time is finally here and Borderlands 4 has launched. Well, as of this video, it's actually September 11th and it's out on PC, and tomorrow on the 12th will be the full launch. But I'm doing my early review of Borderlands 4, my completely honest review. With that, I'm going to emphasize that the game was given to me by 2K. Big shout out to them, appreciate them. But this is not a sponsored video by them. I just want to emphasize that I got the key from them, but just want to be completely honest and open with you all. But do know that this is completely my own thoughts. I genuinely have some pretty big negative things to say about the game that will, I think personally, will impact the future of the game. But I want to just talk about literally everything from the story, the performance, the Vault Hunters, loot, and endgame. Just kind of cover all those things in this video so that you have a good idea if this is the game for you. But I will say almost immediately, Borderlands 4 is one of the best entries in the series. If not, certain things would make it the best entry in the series, but unfortunately, we will talk about that later on. Before I get into the video, know you can follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. If you're watching this video right now, I'm likely live over on twitch.tv/Byrdman778. So swing on by, let me know what you thought of the review. Give a like on this video. Let me know some of you're interested in seeing it down below, whether it's further guides for the game, things for Rafa, Vex, Amon, or Harlow. Subscribe and become a member. Now, let's start off with probably the one thing that I think for so many Borderlands fans matters the most, the story. In this, I am not going to spoil anything super crazy about the story. We're just gonna kind of do like an overall look at it and what I thought of it. First and foremost, Borderlands 4 has the best tutorial mission of any Borderlands game, period. This one is so simple and sweet, but what it does is kind of set up the game in this kind of dramatic fashion that I really enjoyed and didn't really think that they would do in Borderlands. Like genuinely, I played it and then went, holy crap, this is going to be a really solid story. After that, you are immediately dropped into the Fade Fields, which is one of 3 regions in the game that you can explore. You do have to kind of progress through the Fade Fields a bit before you hit that point where you're able to kind of just go off on your own and do whatever you want. But I do think that the story of the Fade Fields is one of the strongest in the game, and it's probably one of my favorites because of characters like Rush and Zadra. Now, I won't overly kind of spoil who these people are, but Rush is that typical kind of leader of the resistance. But what I love about him is the fact that he is so much different than a lot of other characters we've had in Borderlands. So many characters are very much leaning towards that anti-hero, kind of looking out for myself type of thoughts. And Rush, on the other hand, is his first focus is on his people and making sure they are okay. I mean, when you get that first cutscene of him, he's immediately offering you a bottle of water and making sure you've got a protein bar ready for you. He's like a dad to all these people. And then on the other side, you have Zadra, who is this former Order scientist who obviously feels guilty about what she's done with the Order and is wanting to help out our, kind of our resistance to fight against the Timekeeper. I think these two sides of the coin really set up the Fade Fields well. And then obviously the boss itself, saw Idolater's Soul, that right-hand man to the Timekeeper, and very much that kind of sniveling, kind of just lackey. But at the same time, his boss fight is actually so freaking good. I really do enjoy it. And it's really fun on my Rafa build that absolutely one-shots him. So be on the lookout for that later down the road. But overall, the Fade Fields was a really solid area. Then we also have Carcadia Burns, where we kind of have these mixture between, the high class of Kairos that have the psychos banging on their doorstep with Queen Callus. Queen Callus is one of the coolest villains in this game, and she's almost somebody that I think any second would be kind of our friend in a different world, but because of ripping out her bolt from her back, and it kind of made her a psycho just like everybody else. She's a very interesting character. Also in this area, you get introduced to Moxie and Zane. Zane, obviously, I'm a Zane main through and through. If you've ever seen any of my content, I love Zane with all my heart and soul. So being able to have him as part of my story was absolutely so special. And then finally, we have Terminus Ridge with the boss Vile Lictor. He's kind of that mad scientist who really doesn't care about anybody around him. He's just looking to experiment on people. And then we have the Augurs, which is kind of the people of this area that are very much been experimented on constantly by Vile Lictor and are very afraid to move out of line. But then we also obviously have a couple characters that are fighting back against that. And obviously us as, the Vault Hunters we are going to help them with that. All around, all 3 of these regions and the stories they bring are some of the best in the entire series. Like, absolutely love it. I will say, big shout out to Sam Winkler and his entire team that did this in all these different stories, all the small stories in between there. I will say a lot of this stuff is kind of on the safer end versus Borderlands 3 that definitely seem to be kind of more wacky. But I will say the safe, serious, kind of grounded tones of the story are really good. And it definitely helps outweigh some of the negatives of this game. I think Borderlands 3 is a great example where it started off with a really bad story that no one was able to really like connect with versus this that has a really good one that people are definitely going to be like, all right, I would love to play this again. Oh, I can't wait till I get to Carcadia Burns and meet Zane. Oh, I can't wait to go do that Vile Lictor fight. Stuff like that helps bring people back even outside of like things like Endgame. I will say my biggest negative of the story is the Timekeeper himself. He is a great character, but he's like barely in the game. I genuinely feel like we have less than like 10 pages worth of dialogue in the entire game itself. He's just like not used that much. And then by the time we do see more of him, he does really good. He shines in the story, but at the same time, we just didn't get enough of him. I genuinely feel like just like times twoing the amount of exposure he had in the game would have been enough, because again, all these regions are focused on these one singular bosses, but it wasn't like Jack that we had in, Borderlands 2, where he's like constantly poking at us like throughout the game. Timekeeper definitely like sits back and just kind of like watches everything happen. That could be part of like his character, he just doesn't really care. He sees us as ants and is not too stressed about us from his big ivory tower. But at the same time, I think just having more of him would have been better. But overall, if I had to give like the story a rating out of 10, it's immediately like an 8 to a 9 out of 10. Now let's talk performance. I know a lot of people were worried about performance. So far, it has been more on the positive side for me. Playing in early access, I definitely was having some hitching issues, having, my game crash a lot at certain times. Like, it was only like a 2-day period my game was crashing a lot, but literally right before I recorded this, they put out a day one patch essentially for this, and my game's been running like butter since. I do have DLSS on with ×4 frame gen going, so obviously that's probably helping. I am running it between like medium to very high, just depending on how I'm feeling on that day, how my PC feels like it's doing. Do note, PC specs wise for me, I'm running a 5080 with a 9950 X3D CPU. I got a pretty hefty machine that should be able to do this, and you know what, as of now, when recording this, it's feeling pretty good. I will say you likely will run into issues whenever you're entering a certain area of the world for the first time, loading shaders and kind of just having the world kind of load in general. That might be the immediate issue for a lot of people on PC specifically. So just be ready for that possibly to happen. I have had times where my game is hitched when going between regions. So if I were to fast travel from Carcadia Burns to the Fade Fields, there might be like a quick like little second hitch where, you can tell it's kind of like reloading a different section of the world and map. But overall, in combat, is usually pretty dang good. I personally haven't had an immense amount of issues, especially after the day one patch that they gave me. I will say though, console people, I have no idea how it's going to be for you. I genuinely, bless your souls. This either is going to fry your system or it's going to be not too bad. I would recommend probably just going for more of the performance side in your graphical settings, just to be safe, just to make sure that you're getting those maximum, FPS and getting that maximum, just kind of performance in general. It would just be really disheartening to see people being turned off from the game just because of performance issues, when genuinely this is one of the best entries in the series. Overall, if I had to give the performance out of 10 a rating, between a 7 and 8 to a 9 now with what I had, so pretty much just kind of judge it from there. Let's talk about our Vault Hunters. Vault Hunters are absolutely great. I have only really played Rafa, and the information I have on Amon, Harlow, and Vex are coming from my other friends, Moxie, Chadley, Abby Hour, Lewis, Jolts Dude, K6, and Little Gas Mask, all the people that are over on the Max Roll team with me. Rafa, absolutely insane. Love him. He is probably the strongest soldier character next to Zane. There's some stuff that we get in our specialization that definitely helps him a lot. But overall, I've really enjoyed him. Everything I've seen for Harlow has been a lot of fun. Amon is definitely strong. I will say Amon definitely suffers with his action skills. Unfortunately, they have a pretty dang long cooldown, and a lot of the stuff, especially in, I would say, his shield tree, isn't insanely strong. A lot of good defense, obviously, but the Frost Whip that you use definitely doesn't do insane amount of damage. I'd probably say shockingly, I think Amon is maybe the weakest of the four. So hopefully we see some early buffs to him to kind of help out that action skill cooldown. And then Vex is somehow, I think, maybe the dark horse of the entire series, and coming out being like one of the strongest. Dead Ringer is absolutely stupid, and Incarnate with that kinetic bleed and everything is absolutely stupid as well. So get ready to be seeing a lot of Vex builds when you weren't really expecting to see those. People are going to absolutely fall in love with her. I don't think Trouble is actually all that strong, but again, those clones, especially the Spectres with the guns, are really, really dumb early game. But overall, like if I had to give these Vault Hunters a rating, it's like a 9 to a 10. Like they are really good. Really enjoy them. I really enjoy the comms they have. I really like the synergies they have with the specializations tree. Everything about them is really, really fun. Let's talk about loot real quick before I go and depress everybody. Loot is really solid. I wouldn't say the guns or all of them are like absolutely insane and amazing. There's definitely a smaller handful of legendary weapons that are good versus kind of some of the more mediocre ones. I'm guessing Gearbox probably decided to go kind of lower on these and kind of like not, you know, over buff them from the jump, just so that later on, hey, we can kind of buff these and make these feel better. I mean, that was like one of the best parts about Borderlands 3 being a creator, was early on seeing the fact that a lot of guns weren't good, and then suddenly they buffed them to high hell, and suddenly these were some of the best things ever. I mean, the Lob is one of the best examples. It was an absolute atrocious weapon and then became an absolute boss melter. So really hoping for that. Shields are absolutely flippin' stupid. Like some of, like, I mean, I think they're the best in the entire franchise. You can get the best shield from the very first boss. I have an entire video covering that here later on. The Timekeeper's shield is absolutely stupid too once you beat him and everything. Definitely recommend doing that. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I know Jolt's dude is gonna have an entire like, you know, onslaught of weapon and shield and all that stuff guide for you all, so make sure you're checking him out. And legendary enhancements are actually also really good, giving you 2 different abilities. They are insanely rare, so definitely be on the lookout for those, but yeah, definitely really good there. And I don't really want to spoil anything too crazy here, but I'm just going to use some keywords here to emphasize something that's in the game that you should really look out for. If you see a legendary drop and it's got like kind of a rainbow glow around the weapon, hold on to that weapon forever. I'm just going to use the keyword shiny. Just use that as you may. I don't want to spoil anything too crazy, but just think of like Pokemon with shinies. Now let's get to the depressing part, and that is the end game. I have an entire video dedicated to talking about this end game because this video would be closer to probably 40 minutes if I really deep dive the end game in this video. It's not good. It's just the same issues that we had in Borderlands 3 and Wonderlands as well, where one idea essentially becomes the entire end game. They talked about this in a recent video, kind of talking about the wildcard missions, the weekly wildcard missions and stuff. These are good as a complement to a further end game. They should not be the end game themselves. Replaying story missions with an onslaught of modifiers is not end game. That's not fun. It is definitely the biggest thing that is holding this game back is the end game. Again, I genuinely think Borderlands 4 would be at launch the best title in the entire series if we had further endgame. And that further endgame could have simply been one Invincible. Could have been the one Invincible that they showed in that preview video that I talked about before. It was like Doom Bloom or whatever, the Invincible. I can't even think of his name. I talk about endgame and I just get furious because it's just the same issues again, where we are not getting anything that we had asked for. And it's like one of those things, like, I'm not trying to be entitled and be like, you didn't put in what I wanted for, but the entire community has constantly been asking for Invincibles at launch. Now, post Borderlands 3, been asking for takedowns at launch, and we've already found out they're not going to be adding takedowns into the game, which is absolutely insane to me. I mean, it's like some of the best content we've ever gotten. They're like, we're not going to do that. Now, they did emphasize that they are going to be putting takedown mechanics and other things, and I think those takedown mechanics and other things are essentially the vaults, which the vaults are great. I want more of them. Please give us more vaults. Only having 3 vaults in the entire game is a little crazy to me, especially when I think personally, like, that's almost immediately standout content. So please, in the future, more vaults and just more endgame in general. Please, we need Invincibles. We need true takedowns. I would love to have, you know, actually a true trials like machine next to bosses as well to increase their value. We kind of do have that in the way of the big encore machine. There's just like stuff in regards to the end game that needs to be added to that hasn't been added to. And essentially, if I had to give the end game a rating out of 10, it's the salty version of me wants to say 1 out of 10, but like more in general, I'd probably say a 3 to a 4. Again, because of what is in the game, the wild cards, the big encore machine, the Maurice's black market vendor, the vault, all are good, but you need something else to kind of be, you know, like the Michael Jordan to that team, you know, to complement and make the rest of that better. You need the shining star, and there's no shining star right now. In general, other thoughts just kind of going through, co-op is definitely really bad as well. I have had some horrific issues when it comes to co-op. I mean, it's just absolutely insane, especially when you're going through, you know, endgame content in co-op. It's just really, really bad. I had really bad performance issues with that. I can't say that I have played it since they had those upgrades to the performance. I haven't played co-op since then, so it could be better, but I was told by Gearbox employees themselves not to use a certain capstone for Rafa and co-op because it'll probably break the game. So that should give you a pretty good idea of how co-op is. Co-op is also one of the most efficient ways to farm XP in the game with people. So again, it's like one of those things, if you're willing to deal with the issues, it definitely gets better, but you know, there's good benefits to it. But in general, yeah, co-op could definitely improve. I will say with all these complaints I do have, I will re-emphasize the fact that the base game, the base story, the base Vault Hunters, the base gear is all good. And that's what is really going to help carry the game. Endgame can be fixed and adjusted and stuff like that, but story can't be. Once you put out the story, that's the story, and that's what like so many people are going to base their vibes for the game on almost immediately. So them nailing that is good. I think we're in a better spot than we were in Borderlands 3 with, again, having this abysmal endgame compared to that abysmal endgame. Unfortunately, that story in Borderlands 3 wasn't good to help carry you into the end game. There was just a huge player loss after that versus Borderlands 4, where I feel like, okay, the story's really good. I think people are going to be able to grasp onto that, grasp onto these Vault Hunters, and kind of wait out until, you know, better end game is added on. If I had to say one immediate thing to the developers, I'm like, please just put that Invincible in the game week 1. Just do it. It clearly looks like you guys have finished it. Just put it in the game. Like, do yourself a favor. It would be a really good choice. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, it's gonna take me a while to get to endgame. Yeah, there's going to be a large player base that's going to get it within like 2 days. So, and then you're gonna deal with them complaining like me right now, and that's gonna deter people. So I think it's probably a good idea just to immediately put it in, but what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber. In general, if I had to give Borderlands 4 a number out of 10, I'm going to conservatively give it a 7 out of 10. Endgame and lack of timekeeper, like the lack of timekeeper only drops it just like a smidge for me, but the lack of good endgame, it drops it like by multiple points. I'd say like 2+ points, just that alone hurts it for me. Hopefully I am wrong and they eventually fix it. And I mean, second that they added Invincible in the game, my rating goes from a 7 out of 10 to like an 8 to a 9. Like, I'm not even kidding you. That's all it will take just for something to farm. Once we get, you know, like pearls in the game and stuff, it's definitely gonna get better. I mean, that's really the only thing that they really need to fix going into the future of Borderlands 4 is the end game. And then other than that, they did really freaking good. But have you played Borderlands 4 yet? What is your opinion so far on the game? What have you seen from all your other favorite content creators out there? What are the vibes? All that other stuff. Please let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know, are you interested in seeing a lot of Rafa builds, Amon builds, Vex, or Harlow? Do you want to see other guides, anything like that? Obviously, I will also plug here maxroll.gg, where I'm over there with a lot of other fun content creators, like I mentioned before, Moxie, Chadley, Abby Hour, Jolt's Dude, K6, Lil Gas Mask, and the wonderful Lewis. Make sure you're liking this video, subscribing, and becoming a member as well, and follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. Again, I think the future of Borderlands 4 is really bright. Again, be on the lookout for all my other videos. Be on the lookout for my longer rant on Endgame. I'm almost immediately going to have some tips and tricks videos, some good XP farms, where to farm this amazing shield in the game, as well as a good Rafa leveling guide coming up here soon. Be on the lookout for all that, and until then, I hope you have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.